So we've got Nana Akomeah with us and Samuel Okudzeto Ablakwa. We're looking at the major issues of 2023. You look at how the coverages went, maybe, and going forward, looking forward, what things can be changed or what things could be improved. Nana Akomeah, let me start off with you. Your major issue, first one of 2023.
Thank you. My major issue of this year is obviously the election of Dr. Akomeah as the flag bearer of the NPP. It's a wonderful choice, and it gives us the best opportunity to retain power beyond the 8 years. Number one, it gives the party a chance to diversify the branding. It gives us the opportunity to have a much more inclusive branding for the party. Over the period, we've always had leadership from a certain group. And this is the first time that we've gone outside that group. So it gives us a more inclusive image. One of the campaign that Samuel Okudzeto and his people have been using against us is that for us, for this party, you must be from a certain group to be able to become a leader. And they take this campaign in Accra, in the Volta region, in the north. In the Volta region, they call our party Ablakwa, which means, a party for a certain group of people, a narrow-minded party. In the north, they term our party Akomeah or something, which is a narrow-minded, narrowly focused party. In Accra, they say, "Oh, this is a boy." That means this is a party for not real indigenous people. It's not an open party. It's just a party for. Now, Akomeah erases that propaganda, and it gives us a fighting chance to neutralize the NDC in one of their strongholds, which is the north. And if you look at the northern region, the NPP is now the majority party in the northern region. When the seats became 21 seats for the 2012 elections, NPP had 10, and the NDC had the rest. I think there was one independent out of the 31 seats. As we speak today, NPP has 16 and NDC has 15. Who would have imagined that the NPP would today be the majority party in the northern region? But we are. And when you look at the presidential vote from 2008, it's been going up. The number of constituencies that the NPP has been winning since 2008 in the north has been going up. Now we've almost shared it. We won in about 14, and the NDC won in about 17 constituencies. So we are inching up even the presidential. For the parliamentary, we've taken over. And if you look at Akomeah's home constituency, Wali, we won it for the first time in 2012, and we're still retaining it as our seat. It didn't used to be our seat from 1992. And so it gives us the best opportunity to give the NDC a showdown in some of their strongholds, particularly in the north. And we also hope that in the zongos, he will give them a showdown. And if he's able to neutralize the NDC in two of their major strongholds, that gives us a fighting chance to retain power. So I'm very happy that the delegates, you hear the propaganda that, he only got 61% endorsement.
You were expecting 75% or more.
Well, our projections were about 75. Yeah. But even with 61%, that is the highest endorsement for a first time NPP flag bearer. That's the highest endorsement. Edubwa Hini won the flag bearership for the first time in 1992 with 56. J. Kufuor won the flag bearership for the first time in 1996 with 51. Akufo-Addo won the flag bearership for the first time in 2008 with 47. So winning the flag bearership for the first time with 61, that's the highest. So it's quite impressive. And I mean, this is somebody that the NDC had told the whole world that he would never emerge as a leader of the party. And they were shouting this on the rooftops. So for him to actually emerge out of a strong field is remarkable. So for me, that is the biggest news for 2023.
Okay. Let me bring in someone who could talk Ablakwa on this particular issue. And because Nana Akomeah has talked about your party, the NDC, he has talked about how Dr. Bamia is going to give you a run for your money, particularly in the northern part of the region and in the Zongos. These are two of your major strongholds. In fact, you have said that the NPP formed Nasara when you had Zongo caucus already. And so you are the party for the Zongos, but they say they have a flag bearer that appeals to the Zongos and to northern Ghana more than you.
When you listen to Nana Akomeah carefully this morning, he is a bundle of contradictions. He began his submission by empathizing with Ghanaians that it's been a very difficult year economically, and that he's hoping that things will improve on the economic front. Then he pivots and tells us that the chair of the economic management team, who is responsible for all of this economic hardship, which he is empathizing with Ghanaians, and I must commend him for his honesty, at least on that part. The biggest news is that the man who superintended the mess, who has brought us to points that we never imagined. Look, I never imagined that Ghana will get to a point where we default on our loans, that we are downgraded to a super junkie status, D, by the sovereign rating agencies, that terminologies that we have never heard of will become the mainstay. Domestic debt exchange program, financial haircuts, that for the first time in the history of this country, pensioners who have worked so hard all their lives, they are not asking for a favor. They don't want any handouts. This is money they have worked for. Bawumia, as head of the economic management team, Ken Oforiatta, and of course, led by the couple himself, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, decided to deny these people their earnings, money they have worked for all their life, that they have to pick it. And in talking about this, I must celebrate this morning the former Chief Justice, Madame Sofa Akufo. I mean, she's the Yasantwa of 2023, and of course of the modern era. She told them in the face that, look, we will not take this. But for their resistance, their agitation, senior citizens will have been denied their pensions. Pensioner bondholders, not once, not twice. I remember the petition parliament. They came, sat at the gallery to see for themselves how their petition will be handled. So these people have caused so much pain, so much anguish. Look, they complain about debt to GDP ratio of 56% in 2016, that hey, we are approaching 60%, the dreaded, unsustainable level. You remember, Winston, during the year, it even exceeded 100%. Inflation went beyond 50%. I mean, can you believe that? And the person who was presented as the economic messiah, as the economic whiz kid, who had the panacea, who had the magic wand. This is what he's done to us. And then suddenly, Nana Akomeah wants us to believe that that is such great news, that the alpha and omega of economic woes, the abysmal performer when it comes to managing this economy, is the one to take us to the promised land. That is why I am not surprised that if you look at the two leading parties, the person that there is overwhelming confidence both within and without is no other person than His Excellency John Dramani Mahama. He won by a convincing, emphatic 98.9%. 98.9%. So within his party, there is such an overwhelming confidence in him. Everybody has rallied behind him. The people who had to share 1% have all joined him. And let me commend the respected Dr. Kwabena Dufour, former mayor of Kumasi, Kojo Bonsu, Professor Alabi, and all those who have rallied behind former President Mahama. And you see that they go everywhere together at the end of year gathering a few days ago.
It's not the same for Dr.
They were all there. It's not the same. For Dr. Bawumia, the very regarded stalwart, founder of the UP Dankwa in terms of the modern tradition, the leader of the young patriots. I'm speaking about no meaner person than Alan Chermantin, who was in this party long before Bawumia came and had done so much work. You know of the virtues of Alan Chermantin. When you have such a major stalwart break away, you can say same. In the case of the NDC, in the modern era, I mean, when President Mahama emerged, nobody has broken away, and even to think about anybody of that stature. So look, Nana Akomeah should stop the contradictions. You cannot come here empathizing with us that you people have been such abysmal managers of the economy. You have totally destroyed this economy. Everything that we hold sacred, we have become junk. We've become a basket case. We can't pay our debts. We have been shut out of the international financial market. And you want us? I mean, what do you take us for? What do you really take Ghanaians for? Okay. And then look.
Yes, right after I get back to Nana, and then I'll go for a short break. Yes.
This myth about, and again, you wonder which election figures Nana Akomeah has been looking at. His Excellency John Dramani Mahama won convincingly in the northern region. 52%. Check the data. The MPP had 46%. So this claim that since Bawumia emerged, the northern region has become a majority region.
They've improved in performance.
Yeah, you can talk about improvement. I'll grant you.
Point he makes.
I'll grant you. No. He said that they've become the majority. No, if you take the seats, there are 18. There are 18 seats. It's 9-9. You know, the parliamentary seats. It's 9-9. So where from this voodoo analysis? I don't really understand what is going on here. Look.
So my understanding of this point was that the northern region in 2012, when it became 31 constituencies, now you have Northeast Savannah. If you add all of it to the old northern region, you would realize that the NPP has 16 seats and the NDC has 15. You're not disputing that, are you?
If you do what?
The old northern region, the old northern region, before the split in 2018 to Savannah and Northeast. So you're adding all of them together.
So that's what he wants to seek refuge in. Even when you do that, the presidential, the NDC wins convincingly. I will concede that when it comes to the parliamentary, we had some challenges with some independent candidates. There were internal, issues here and there. But you cannot, by the stretch of imagination, say that the northern region, whether you are combining all of them, even if you want to add the Upper East, Upper West, that it has turned blue. You cannot say that. Look, let's take the Ghanaian people seriously, and let us all admit the obvious. There was so much hope, there was so much expectation. The Akufo-Addo-Bawumia ticket, the Ghanaian people repose so much confidence in them. They have let us down. Look, you remember their promises. They promised that they will transform this economy under 18 months. That's all they need. They don't even need the 4 years. The 4 years is too much. Bawumia told us that his economic policies would deliver jobs, that even in our communities, they will make sure that the economy will be so well managed that MPs will receive $1 million every year, and that $1 million will take care of all our toilet needs, our water needs, and all of that. As member of parliament, I am still waiting for the first $1 million. Can you believe that? We are going into the 8th year. I should have received at least $7 million to help my constituency. Then you remember every Ghanaian will have a bank account. You remember the claim that, look, there will be so many jobs that they even have to import import workers to come work in Ghana. So many outrageous, very, mouth-watering promises were made. And here we are. They've been high on rap, but absolutely low on delivery.
Let me bring the nine, but just because we're talking figures, because we're talking figures. So let me just put this one out, because we've been doing this analysis a very long time. So in the northern region, from 2008, so in 2008, for instance, the NDC had 58.4 in the current northern region.
Yes.
Okay, so we've done the mappings. We've actually taken away all those constituencies.
You mean the presidential?
The presidential, yes. Yeah. The NDC had 58.4. In 2012, 58.6. But then it comes to 56.1 in 2016 and 52.6 in 2020.
Yeah.
Now, for the NPP, since...
So I'm right?
Yes. So for the NPP, since 2008, in 2004, it was 35.6. It goes to 38.1 in 2008, 38.8 in 2012, 41.3 in 2016, and then 46.4 in 2020. If you go to the northeast region, in 2008, the NDC had 53.5%. That reduced to 52.1% and 48.5% in 2016. By end of 2020, it was 47%. The NPP increases from 35% in 2008 to 44.9 in 2012, and then in 2016 as 49.4, and by 2020 51.4. When it comes to the Savannah, and I'm just going to end on the Savannah region. In the Savannah region, in 2008 the NPP had 39.5. That reduces to 34.5, to 33.4, and 35.
We have to be careful. Savannah didn't exist in 2008.
No, I'm saying that I've actually done the carvings. So I've taken the constituencies,
out. Okay.
And I've just put it in and said. So that's
that can be misleading.
Yeah, no, that's the kind of analysis that I have done. So I just wanted to share that one so that we can go. So now let me come back to you, because I've seen you noting a lot of things down.
So what you've done clearly exonerates my position that with the advent of Bawumia, the fortunes of the NPP in his home area, they've responded positively, and it's been going up and up and up. And I'm happy that you even managed to disaggregate it. I had bunched them together as the former northern region. But even when you do the disaggregation as you've done, clearly, you could see the trend. And I'm very happy about that. Now, my brother said somebody has broken away from the NPP. So what?
It wouldn't affect you?
Oh, but the NDC, they had the chairman of the party breaking away to form his own party. So breakaways are what? And when you check the outcomes of people who broke away from Reform and UGM in 2000, 0 point something.
Reform had 1%, UGM had 0.3%.
Right up to Obeda Samwa, the former chairman of the NDC, breaking away 0 point something, 1 point something. Breakaways don't matter in our election. The results are very clear. But your chairman broke away. And you've still gone ahead to win elections. Chairman of your party. And form his own political party. Now, you talk about Bawumia is to blame for the economic difficulties. That is the only propaganda that the NDC has against Bawumia. Nothing else. Dado is the chairman of the economic management team, so he's responsible for the difficulties and so on. That's the only propaganda they have. But it will be dismissed as we go along. You see, when NDC go abroad, from John Mahama and his, the other collaborators like Okudzeto, Ablakwa, where you can't do propaganda, they situate the economic situation of Africa in its proper context. That the African economies have been totally devastated by COVID and the Russia-Ukraine war. You hear John Mahama in Harvard. You hear John Mahama on CNN. You hear him on BBC strongly advocating for Africa in these very difficult times and the impact that COVID and so on have had on Africa. But yet when they come home to Ghana, they forget about COVID and the things that they say in Harvard and on CNN. When they come home, they say, oh, it's Bawumia. How you can blame economic difficulties on one person is difficult to see. Look, when they were in office, the previous time, the last time they were in office, we had major economic difficulties. And we actually went to the IMF. In that time, way back 2012, 2015, 2016, the State of the Nation address, President Mahama always attributed the difficulties of the Ghanaian economy that led us to the IMF. He always attributed it to external factors. He said there was some slowdown in the Chinese economy. Check the State of the Nation address in 2012, in 2015, in 2016. He said there was some slowdown in the Chinese sector. That was why we're having major difficulties in the economy in Ghana. And that's why we have to go to the IMF. Today, when it comes to Ghana, he says it's Bawumia who is responsible. That shows you a certain hypocrisy that will not wash. But even if you want to blame economy on one person, President Mahama, you had ultimate responsibility. What the Americans say, the buck stops with you. It's a presidential system. If you are going to blame, you are going to blame somebody who's a vice president. How about you who was a president? And there was massive economic failure in your tenure, which failure led to you being rejected by the largest margin in Africa of a sitting president. And you were president. So if you think a vice president can be blamed, then you as president should be blamed even more because you had ultimate power. You remember in 2015, in the midst of the economic difficulties, there was agitation from the NDC, the members of parliament and so on, that the finance minister at that time and the governor of the Bank of Ghana at that time should be removed. And John Mahama said he wasn't going to remove them because he didn't think one person should be blamed for the economic difficulties. You remember?
Yeah.
So these people look forwards and backwards at the same time, and they've perfected it into an act. Let me conclude and tell you something. The diagnosis that Dr. Bawumia provided for the Ghanaian economic situation right from the historical time, way back up to today, and the prescriptions that he offered for the Ghanaian economy as a solution out of our historical difficulty with our economy, managing the currency and inflation and all of that, and getting industrialized and all of that. Those solutions still remain true. And we in the NPP believe that when we give him the chance to lead, those prognoses, those diagnoses, those solutions would come to fruition for the betterment of this country. He is the only leader whose diagnosis of the difficulties ring right into your heart, and the solutions that he proffered ring right into your heart. We believe that when we give him the chance to be number one, we would see those solutions come into fruition. And we have no doubt at all that they will come and say that, oh, he's the responsible for the difficulties and all of that. We are ready for them. And we will see who will convince the good people of Ghana. Putting Akomeah and John Mahama on the same scale, we believe John Mahama will have no chance.
In a minute.
Yeah, so Winston, because you gave me only a minute, but I know you are conversant with the IMF staff report on Ghana. In this report,
which year is that? 2016?
May 2023.
Okay. I thought it was the 2016 one.
In this report, they concede that before COVID, before Russia, Ukraine, there were pre-existing vulnerabilities. That is the term they used. Indeed, in Ken Ofori-Atta's letter to the IMF, contained in this report of May 2023, they conceded. So if there are any group of people who blow hot and cold, when they meet the IMF, they tell them the truth. And indeed, that's what we have been facing all along. And in Parliament, consistently, this above the line, below the line, they present different sets of figures to us in the House. When they meet the IMF, they then tell them the truth. But you see, who really should you be telling the truth to? Who should you be accountable to? It must be the Ghanaian people. We have employed you. Look, Winston. Winston, I'm happy you are hosting today. You're very good with numbers. Take all the indicators. Before COVID, the debt to GDP ratio had increased from 56% in 2016 to 78% before COVID in 2020. That's a fact. Before COVID, our public debt had shot up from 120 billion to 225 billion. That's a fact. That is a fact. Look, when these people were spending like there is no tomorrow, you remember that one of my major issues that I've had with this Akufo-Addo regime is the expenditure pattern. Look, the economic crisis that has been visited upon us is self-inflicted. For many years, you heard me talk about the consumption patterns of this regime. The presidential travels, for example. We have a functioning presidential jet. The president won't use it. He'll spend 20,000 euros an hour chartering ultra-luxury jets. We had to become broke before he reverted to the presidential jet which President Kufuor had ordered at his specs. He had no issues with it. President Mills used it. President Mahama used it. They didn't complain. You remember, for many months, years, the president wouldn't listen. He was just on a frolic of his own, You take the number of ministers he appointed, over 100 ministers. I mean, this country does not need a separate ministry for sanitation, a separate ministry for local government. You don't need a separate ministry for railways, separate ministry from transport. I mean, there's so many ministries that can be merged. Information, communication. I mean, we're spending like we are the richest country ever known to man. And here we are. Even COVID that they talk about, what they don't tell the Ghanaian people, that it brought a windfall. They received as much as 30 billion cedis from COVID. The Auditor General has revealed that they put 18 billion into budget support, and the rest of the money went into all kinds of, dubious expenditure.
Went to COVID-19 related expenditure.
Not related to COVID-19. I mean, you've heard leading members of the MPP confess publicly how they just share the money amongst themselves. So you see, I don't want to remind Ghanaians of the pain, of the anguish, because it's a holiday season, and we all want to try and remember the birth of Jesus the Christ. But I mean, when we are provoked by the so-called magic capabilities of Bawumia, when we really have never had any doubt that he is in charge. He has never told us that he has been prevented from implementing any policy. I mean, we've never heard that, and nothing stopped him from resigning. If you are part of a team, I mean, I resigned from the appointments committee when I thought that things were not going as I wanted. I mean, nothing stops you from resigning if you feel strongly that your so-called economic prowess is not being heeded, your advice, your policy options are not being pursued. I mean, you and the president and Ken Ofori-Atta, hook, line and sinker, you worked in such harmony. We never heard of even a single tension. I mean, he is so happy, and you saw how they elbowed everybody out of the way to make him the heir apparent. They were so pleased about how amazing the working relationship was, that they did everything, including chasing out Alan Tremontin from the MPP to make him the leader. So suddenly we are being told, he was just vice president, let's give him the chance to become the leader himself, and then what he has in his mind. Then you will compel us to say that if he had some prowess left, some ideas left, which he didn't put at the disposal of Akufo-Addo's cabinet, then he's very selfish, he's very wicked, he's not a patriot. He doesn't have this country at heart. So whichever way you look at it, you can't win. So please, they should credit Ghanaians with logic, with common sense, and stop these bizarre analysis. Now let me come to my biggest issue. It will certainly be the floods. Look, Winston, we really have been tested. I've never seen anything like that in my lifetime. We are told that it was 60 years ago, exactly 60 years ago, 1963, when the dam was being constructed, that we saw this level of flooding. But even that, from what the elders tell us, it was not this devastating to have even story buildings submerged, entire communities taken over by these floodwaters. And you recall that the Volta River Authority decided to spill excess water from the Akosombo and Pond dams on the 15th of September. Since then, we have known no peace. Entire communities, entire lives have been changed for good. It is to the glory of God that there was no death, even though, as I speak to you, a number of people in the camps have passed, but we are told they had underlying conditions. You recall, Winston, that people woke up in the morning, according to NADMO, across the country, 40,000 people have been displaced. And I don't remember when in our lifetime we had 40,000 Ghanaians displaced. The international media picked this up strongly, supporting the effort of the local media. I recall that during the year, former U.S. Vice President Al Gore has been big on this matter. You know, he's a climate change advocate, and he has championed this even at the recent COP28. he has also expressed shock, at the levels of devastation. So we were in the eye of the international community. As I speak to you, Winston, the water levels have receded, but according to NADMO, 1,500 houses totally destroyed. So even though the water levels have receded, the people have nowhere to go to. So that is why if you go to Okudzeto right now, Okudzeto DA school, you have 1,255 people there, still there now as I speak to you. The oldest person there is 93 years, and the youngest person there is about a year and a half. If you go to Bato DA, there are another 750 people there right now as I speak to you, Bato DA school. If you go to the Akomeah Basic School, the Dofwadidome Basic School, if you go to Mepe RC, you go to Mepe Presby schools. So there are 21 camps. I must commend the benevolence of Ghanaians for coming through to help us. We have made land available, and I must thank our chiefs for their generosity. You don't pay for it if you want to help us with our housing resettlement program. The partnership is that the chiefs offer land, you can build, and then I come in to furnish, the MP's office will furnish, and then we'll pay for the utilities. So that partnership has worked brilliantly with the First Sky intervention, and we have been able to relocate the first 300. And so if you come to Akomeah now, and we had to start in Akomeah because at the time we cut the sod on the 19th of October, Mefe was underwater, there was no land available. So we did that in 7 weeks, and it's remarkable what we have achieved to do safe modern housing in 7 weeks. It tells you that when we put ourselves to it, we all put our shoulders to the wheel, we eschew excuses, we can make it, because affordable housing has been one of the Achilles heels of this country, where you have uncompleted projects dotted all over the country for years, for decades. But we have proven in North Town that it is doable. In 7 weeks, we have delivered the first affordable housing. We have started the second one in Mepe. This time Mepe is dried up, and so we can construct. And the design in Mepe is even an enhanced one. This time we are going to add kitchens, we are adding storerooms, we are adding meeting rooms, TV rooms. So it's going to be more, user-friendly, more comfortable for the displaced persons. For another set of 300, I was there on Boxing Day to surprise the workers. We don't have a Christmas break, just like you. We are working round the clock, day and night. We want to beat our 7-week record with the first one. We want to deliver this in 5 weeks, but you can be assured of the quality. Fortunately for us, we are having a lot of goodwill. So people like the National Chief Imam, who I must celebrate, has donated 70,000 cedis into that project. The respected Chief Justice, Her Ladyship Justice Gertrude Tokonu, and the eminent judges of the Apex Court and the Judicial Service of Ghana also have donated 125,000 cedis. We've had donations from Isud Anaba Ministries, who has also donated 50,000 cedis for the project. The second project, we don't have any company taking it up as their CSR, so that's is MP led. So I'm leading, but I want to assure everybody that we have set up structures. So I'm big on accountability and transparency. So we've set up the Accountability Elders Council. These monies don't come to me. If you have noticed all the pictures we put out, when there are donations, I go with the chiefs and then the members of the Accountability Elders Council. They receive the funds. An account has been set up. At the end of this entire disaster, we will invite auditors to audit everything that has come in. So every grain of rice, every bottle of oil, every canned fish, everything will be audited. The paper trail is there. We are keeping documents to prove that all the items are going directly to the beneficiaries. So we are hoping to finish this second one. There's more land that is available. I must commend a number of institutions who have promised that they will start construction of houses for us in the coming year. That's engineers and planners, Mr. Ibrahim Mahama. He's actually come to Clearland, and he says that in the new year they will start. I must also commend Zoom Lion. Zoom Lion announced at the Thanksgiving service of the Fair Sky Group that he would also replicate what Fair Sky did in the coming year. And so the campaign we started, it was on your show.
Yeah.
I must celebrate the morning show, because nobody was talking about it. It was on your show, and I remember that you would even suspend newspaper review, and you would call me. We would discuss this matter. You asked me to list specifically what we need. You were always big on that. Tell us specifically what you need. I mean, is it warm clothing? Is it rice? Is it oil? Is it mattresses? Is it baby food? You just tell us. Sanitary towels. Tell us. You have a lot of listenership. They will come. And I mean, many people came in, told us that, look, we were listening to the morning show, and when we heard the list you provided, we decided to come along to support. I must also thank the celebrities. They all rallied. Jackie Appiah came in to train young people in skills, from cosmetology to dressmaking, tie and dye, and now they have skills. They've been certified by accredited institutions. Fela McCaffrey, Akomeah Dam, Reverend Joe Mettle. I mean, I can go on and on. It became virtually a competition. Who is really coming up with the most innovative idea to alleviate the plight of the people. And I must thank all of you, all your colleagues in other media organizations, the international community, the German embassy, GIZ. They have been phenomenal. The Turkish embassy, the Cuban embassy, they have been phenomenal. I must say that in terms of government contribution, I have said on the floor of the House that there is the need for government to utilize the contingency vote, because so far the support that has come in from government is the VRA. VRA announced 20 million to help alleviate the plight of the people. They have since really left, but central government has not dedicated any funding apart from the allocation made in the 2024 budget of 220 million. And we all know that allocation, there's a world of difference between an allocation and actual release. Every year we chide the Ministry of Finance, even for ministries. For example, when we consider the foreign affairs budget for 2023, the Minister of Finance had released only 68% of what was allocated to them. So there's a world of difference between allocation and actual release. But the point I have made in Parliament consistently is that these are the reasons why we have a contingency vote. And we approved 533 million in 2023. So how is it that such a big emergency, a major humanitarian crisis, the contingency vote is nowhere? Absolutely nowhere. Indeed, I filed an urgent question. It was advertised. Some way, somehow, the finance minister managed to escape. So he didn't get to answer that question before the House went on recess. But I must say that I have not been impressed with the central government. And this is not doing partisanship. I'm only being truthful. You recall that Ghanaians criticized the president when he visited us, the statements he made that we don't vote for him and all of that. Some people have said that he was joking, but it was not a time to joke. We thought that statement was in bad taste. And since then, nothing has come from central government. If it hadn't been, our own, private initiative, leading efforts, mobilizing corporate Ghana, individuals, the celebrities, the media, I really don't know where all of these displaced people will be. So I will really have to emphasize that this crisis is not over. There's been the temptation to shift attention, to move to other matters. Yes, I know that there's always, a challenge with attention span. People want to move to the next big issue, but please remember us that it is not over. And talking about that, a few days ago, let me commend Prophet Daniel Amoatin of the Power of Worship International. He also came. He's cut the sword. His church is coming to construct affordable houses for 100 displaced people, and they would also build a church and build a farm, establish a farm so that people will have jobs. And I like the focus now on, trying to get the people to build their lives again, to get livelihoods so they can work, because you can't keep depending on charity. It's not sustainable, and there's even no dignity in that. I tell people who visit us that in Northtown you don't see a single beggar. We don't have street beggars, and you don't see any beggar. Everybody finds something to do. Either you're on the farm or you are fishing, you have a fish pond. You won't see a single beggar. There is no beggar. There's no street begging. There's no beggar. Okay. So my people are very, very proud, very hardworking people. They love to eat from the fruits of their labor. So we need to think about their livelihoods. But going into 2024, let me serve notice that
in a minute, because we need to go for a final break.
Yes, that I'm going to be big on resettlement and compensation. It's a matter of right. I'm glad that the Speaker of Parliament has already announced that there will be, in the coming year, an inquiry into VRA's conduct in this whole affair. Because we've seen the last major spillage was in 2010. It didn't cause this level of devastation. Okay. How did it happen that for this one, they waited so long? And I'm not an engineer, but from living in the community all these years, what I noticed is that this one, the dam was just open at full blast, and the level of devastation is just unprecedented. So I'm glad that there's going to be a parliamentary inquiry into that whole VRA, conduct, how they triggered this whole disaster. Okay. But most importantly, the people are entitled to resettlement and they are entitled to compensation, and we are not going to compromise on that.
There are a lot of issues, so this is what we're going to do now. Every issue you want to tackle, 5 minutes, then we move to the next issue, 5 minutes. So, Akomeah, I'll give you 5 minutes to look at your next issue.
Okay. Listen, I think one of your major objectives is to have us provide or profile solutions.
Yeah.
We talked about the economy earlier on. A major issue that came up was debt. Samuel Okudzeto mentioned that there was a debt of 120 million that ballooned billion cities. Yes. That ballooned to 200 something.
It's now 600 billion.
Okay, but before the 120, the debt was 9. So 9 then ballooned to 120. And then now you say 600.
600 billion.
We obviously have a problem with debt. From 9 billion to 120 to 600 now. The problem that I have identified, what do we use debt for? I have been in Parliament, Sami is in Parliament. If you look at the list of items for which we have borrowed, you would find out that less than a third of it are for projects that will give you a return. Many of the projects that we borrow as a country do not give us a return to pay the debt. And that's been a major, so debt servicing has been a major burden on us as a country. And it is one of the major reasons why we are still in this situation. So going forward, I would like Parliament to set a criteria that when a government comes with debt, the project should, as much as possible, have an internal rate of return that can allow the project to pay for itself. And that government should not borrow monies to put into any project that will not have a chance of paying for itself. And I think we'll make strides forward. Now, They said a lot of propaganda that because we don't have time. We talk about number of ministers. As we speak, numbers of ministers are the same as when the NDC left. And this COVID expenditure, the people who give us the COVID monies, they have audited the COVID expenditure and they have said that they are satisfied with it. The NDC, which did not give us a PESWA, they are saying they are not satisfied with the expenditure. But the people, the World Bank, the IMF, and so on, they have audited the expenditure and they are happy with it and they are ready to give us more. Look at all the expenditure that were done, sanitizers, the health, all the freebies, electricity, and so on. But you see, when you have an economy growing at 6.5%, suddenly falling to 0.2, 0.3, that's a massive loss. That should not be underestimated. And now I'm going to look for a debate that is going to look at the figures, what we lost and what we got, so we can see our way forward.
Yeah, but now, the Auditor General, when he audited the COVID expenditure, had concerns. One, with sidestepping of procedure. Two, investment into certain areas that have, for instance, in Adakru, we went for a building, rented it over a period. He's raised concerns. He says this is one of the things you could have actually bought with the same amount. So there are some of the expenditure that the Auditor General flags when it comes to the 12 billion.
And the Auditor General is not in DC. Please tell Nana Akomeah that.
Yeah, but the IMF are the NPP. I mean, of course, you would expect that not all the expenditures were kosher. But the way, when you listen to Samuel Okudzeto and his collaborator, it was like the monies was wasted. It wasn't. And the people who give us the monies, they have audited and they say they are happy with it. Now, my next topic is the digital revolution that is going on in this country. We experience it, we enjoy it, but it doesn't look like we pay a lot of attention to it. But it's a quiet revolution that is changing our lives for the better. And that is mine. And I would like to highlight a few of it for you so you can bring it all together to see what is going on, and which we hope to intensify. As we speak, we have a national identification system with the Ghana card, which is a major tool that is going to transform our lives. In fact, it started and is going to continue transforming our life. That single ID that is provided to every Ghanaian is a major revolution that we're going to see huge benefits as we go on. As we speak, because of the Ghana card, if you are a student, you don't need a guarantor to apply for a student loan. When I was a student, you needed to go and find 3 or 4 people. Today, with your Ghana card, you can go and get your student loan. We have a digital property address system, so you don't need to identify the Yokogari seller when you're the neem tree in the corner. You now have a digital address, you put it on your invitation cards, everybody can come to your home. We have mobile money interoperability that can allow you to transfer monies between one network to the other, and even more importantly, to move monies from your bank account to your mobile account. That is the first in Africa. Now with the mobile money interoperability, which is part of the digital revolution, everybody now can get a bank account, because your mobile wallet now serves as a bank account, and all you need is a Ghana card and a mobile phone to get a bank account anywhere in this country. And Ghana is now ranked as number 1 in Africa when it comes to financial inclusion. We've also implemented in this country Africa's first universal QR code payment system with the banks and the telcos, all on one platform. Now you can renew your health insurance sitting in your room with your Ghana card. Just a couple of years ago, when you see a mob on the streets of Asalam down in Ablakwa, it's because they are coming to renew their health insurance. Now you can sit in this studio and buy your health insurance or renew your health insurance with your Ghana card.
As you wrap up on this,
you can now buy your electricity without traveling in the rain when your lights are out to go and look for a vendor. You can sit in your room and buy your electricity, because we've digitized the process. You can apply for your passport. How many minutes do I have? Was this a lot?
1 minute left.
1 minute. We've digitized the processing of goods at the port through the paperless system. Digitize the scholarship application, so you can just apply it online in the comfort of your home. Motor insurance database. When the policeman now keys in your number plate, they can know whether your insurance is kosher or not. Just that, because of digitalization, the operations of the DVLA and so on. And you want to acquire a driver license, the same. You can just apply online and all of that. There's Wi-Fi to over 700 schools, colleges of education, and so on.
Okay.
We've developed. How many minutes do you have?
Your time is up now. I need to.
Okay. Let me just round up. So I have a lot of it that we haven't been paying careful attention to. But when you bring all of it together, you will find out that there's a quiet revolution taking place in this country, moving this country to the 21st century, which will continue under the leadership of Dr. Akomeah.
Let me bring in Honorable Ablakwa. You want to respond to this briefly before you get to...
Just very, very briefly. You know, when Nana Akomeah talked about a quiet revolution, that is transforming this country, I thought that he was going to talk about e-levy. Because when you talk about digitalization,
I hadn't finished.
When you talk about digitalization,
you give me the time.
Please. That's where you should have started from. When you talk about digitalization, what the good people of this country remember is how e-levy was presented as the panacea to our economic woes. You remember what they said? That if e-levy is passed, we won't go to the IMF. If e-levy is passed, look, road will be fixed, hospitals will be constructed, all our challenges with amenities will be resolved. Now you don't hear them talk about e-levy again. They have gone to the IMF, the promise they made us. That's why many Ghanaians have been asking that, why are you keeping the e-levy?
The e-levy was
because you told us that with e-levy we wouldn't need the IMF money. We don't have to go to IMF. Now you are keeping all of it. You see how dishonest they are? So dishonest, so disingenuous. They have no respect for the Ghanaian
Let's
people.
get to your
major,
now today. Your second major issue.
Today they want to hide under digitalization, as the window, the small window to give Akomeah some credibility.
Digitalization is small window.
Small window for Akomeah.
Let's get to your second major issue.
A covert campaign for Akomeah. So my second issue, as many Ghanaians expect,
but you agree it's a window,
that I talk about is definitely the National Cathedral scandal. This National Cathedral, I am glad that Parliament is going to have a full-scale inquiry into this in the coming year, because we are all interested in accountability, we are all interested in transparency, we all want to know where our money really ended up. I hold in my hands here documents presented to Parliament signed by Ken Ofori-Atta following the vote of censure committee hearings, when we demanded for the first time that Parliament wants to know what has been happening on the blind side of Parliament and on the blind side of the Ghanaian people. To our utter shock, Ken Ofori-Atta reveals in this document that a whopping, a colossal, a staggering 339 million Ghana cedis. Let me repeat. 339 million, not 3 million, not 39 million. 339 million Ghana cedis and some change has been spent in constructing the world's most expensive pit. And a few days ago, on Boxing Day, let me greet the respected pharmacist and economist I saw on his Facebook post, Dr. Sapon.
Kwame Sapon.
Yeah, Kwame Sapon Asiedu. Saying that since it's Boxing Day, very sarcastic post, Ghanaians should just agree that, look, that expensive pit in the middle of Accra is not good for our image. So Ghanaians should just agree to donate sand, at least to go and fill the pit. You know, it was quite a humorous post. But you see, when you consider the challenges confronting us as a people, this is not funny. And the finance minister has given the breakdown here. On 7th June 2019, he released 445,000 for David Ajay. Another 80.5 million was released for David Ajay on the 5th of March 2020. 10 February 2021, he released another 32.7 million. 29th October 2021, 142.7 million. 19th August 2021, 58.2 million. 31st March 2022, 25 million. And this will have continued if I didn't intercept the documents of these secret payments. It will have continued. President had told us it's a private project, a personal pledge to God. You remember? Even convinced.
So the state was going to provide a seed capital?
Yes, just seed capital and land, that's all. So it was not contained in the budget.
But did you find out how much the seed capital was?
They never told us. We asked in Parliament. We asked, they never told us. So we were waiting that they will agree on what the seed capital is and put it in the budget. That never happened. And we all know the Constitution of Ghana is very clear. Nobody can spend public funds without parliamentary approval. So this is grave illegality that has happened. Look, one would have thought that, look, this has been the most scandalous government in history, but all their scandals have been against, the Ghanaian people, against man. We thought that as for God, as for heaven, they will spare God. They will have fear, reverence for God. There too, see what they've gone to do. 339 million. And this figure, you must leave out the private donations. You remember Pentecost Church donated millions, other denominations. Then you must also leave out the donations from their U.S. operations. You remember I traveled to the U.S. in the course of the year and revealed what even board members did not know. Apparently, they had registered a different entity there with different people, not accountable to the Ghanaian Board of Trustees. They had put up addresses on their website, told us same in Parliament, addresses which turned out to be a hoax. When I went to the building in Washington, D.C., they told me that there has never been any Cathedral of Ghana domicile there. No, absolutely no space had been rented to this entity. Then they gave Karisames $6 million. They told us that he's a CEO of the Nehemiah Group. Showed us some pictures in Parliament of his plush office and all of that. I followed up on that address, went to Missouri in the US, only to find a warehouse where they sell coffee. And Karisames came out. The man who is supposed to have received our $6 million, CEO of the Nehemiah Group. I didn't find any Nehemiah Group. Then you remember that this year, I also revealed that a company which had been given 2.6 million Ghana cedis, a company known as JNS Talent Center Limited, given 2.6 million of our taxes. When I investigated, because I was shocked that the documents they brought to Parliament, they said it's contractors mobilization. I know the contractors on this project, David Ajay and Ribade. I'd never heard of JNS. So diligence requires that you must probe further. That's why they vote you into Parliament. You are not just there to just, swallow hook, line and sinker anything that is presented to you from the executive. I look into the matter and discovered that apparently JNS is a company owned by the secretary of the board.
Great.
And you remember that that led to the whole double identity expose.
So hold on,
Reverend Kusi Boateng
yes.
and the...
Hold on there. Yes, so that's the National Cathedral. You need to be... I need to move on to the Akomeah.
No, but you allowed me to conclude.
In 1 minute.
Yes, in 1 minute. Because, you see, this National Cathedral project, remember that so many properties were demolished for this project. That must be factored in this equation. Judges' bungalows, the Judicial Training Institute, Waterstone Realty Apartment Complex, the Scholarship Secretariat, the Malian Ambassador's Residence. You know, some of these entities are in court, demanding judgment debt. So, I mean, potentially, Ghana has lost billions. Okay. What went into this project? I mean, what nightmare? Who had this bad dream?
Hold on there.
And I am not surprised that as we speak, the Attorney General has resigned. You know that. I revealed that at the beginning of the year, that the Attorney General has quietly resigned. The respected Archbishop Duncan Williams has resigned. Reverend Sud Andaba has resigned. They called for an audit which was not being heeded to. You know that Bishop Dakiwad Mills has resigned. He wrote an explosive resignation letter.
Okay.
So for this project, it is clear financial loss to the state, a great loot and share scheme done in the name of God, very sacrilegious.
Thank you very much.
People will be made to answer when God willing, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama takes over. This will be one of the projects that people will be made to answer for causing financial loss to the state.
Let me just take half a minute to talk about the National Cathedral.
Sure.
I fully support the policy of having a national cathedral. You know, when the former UN Secretary General, the Ghanaian, Mr. Annan, when he died, and all kinds of dignitaries were in this country for the funeral, it was quite a sorry sight to head all these people into the conference center. And having a national cathedral which would symbolize our gratitude to God, it's a great idea. And I fully support it. And if you look at the land that government put up, this is land, prime land that we've been given to individuals to put up high-rise residential facilities. And so if we are going to reserve a bit of it for God, to show our gratitude for the peace and unity that we've enjoyed, it's not a bad idea. My small point of departure, and it's not too late to reset it, is that my point of departure is that when you look at the caliber of Christian religious leaders, if we reset the financing of the cathedral so that these Christian religious leaders can be fully in charge, we may not need to put in public funds. You look at Duncan Williams, Pastor Otabel, this chap at Jolu,
Perez Chapel.
This my mate who's at North Kaneshi, the Howard Mills. What is done at North Kaneshi, and understand what is done even on the Kwapim Hills. I mean, it's even more. Now, on their own, what they've done, raising monies from their congregation and so on, to put up those edifices. If 10 of them combine and they have full sway, they would be able to build us this national cathedral. So we don't have this issue about public funding, because all the wahala that has attended upon the cathedral, and that's Okudzeto has gotten the opportunity to beat government with, it's all on the involvement of public funding. And it's not too late to reset it. The government to take a step back, having a policy that will give full sway to these religious leaders, and let them, just government should support them when it comes to administrative stuff, and let them go at it. If they combine, they will give us a national cathedral. My next point is Galamsey.
Okay, go ahead.
We've talked a lot about it. We all know the problems. Government after government. NDC came and put the military on the tail of Galamseyers. It didn't work. NPP came and thought if we intensified the involvement of the military and so on, it will work. It doesn't seem to be working. We have to have a way forward. Because if you continue to do the same thing, you're not going to get a different result. NDC started, we all saw the result. NPP2 is intensifying the same method. We are seeing that it's not working too well. One of the problems I find is assigning responsibility for Galamsey. Fortunately for us, in every parcel of land in this country, we have a political authority, the DCE, at the basic level. The DCE or the MCE, depending on the size of the area, they are also the head of the district security committee. If we have a provision that will say that if I saw Galamsey in Fantiakwa and I reported it, automatically the DCE of Fantiakwa will be held responsible. Now, Winston, if you are traveling and you came across some Galamsey pit, who do you report to? The responsibility is not clearly defined. Let's define it. When we define it, then we can hold people to account. If we hold a DC and he says, well, I saw it and I also contacted the military and they didn't, then we can know where the problem is coming from. The second thing we need to do as a matter of urgency, this business of allowing mining in our forest areas, I don't understand it. I don't understand the thinking that went into Parliament agreeing to that. When you say something has been reserved and you pass legislation to make the forest a reserve, what does it mean? It means you can't go in and farm cassava. Now, if you cannot go into a forest reserve to farm cassava and pepper, how do you allow mining? Because once you open that door, it becomes something that you can control. So quickly, the two parties should come together and close that loophole.
Okay. Honorable Ablakwa, finally, you want to react briefly to this and then get to your issue all in 5 minutes? We're going.
Yes, I'll do that very quickly. Look, the Galamsey matter, let's be honest, is just a reflection of the lack of integrity in leadership. That's it. That's what it is. Lack of integrity. So there's no sincerity. There's a lot of pretense. We don't need a new law. We don't need to know who to report to. There is no inch of land, no space in our country which is not under political control. We all know the Galamseyers. They've come to collect party cards. They've come for top positions. And leaders cannot tell them in the face that, stop it, we are going to arrest you, we are going to prosecute you. So it's failed leadership, no integrity. Let's call it what it is.
I have a
my next issue.
Question.
Yeah.
So the Galamsey that happened in the NDC time, what would you call it?
Did I mention any party? You see,
you mean it's across parties?
I'm handling this.
You didn't clarify that
as a national issue
for once.
But you didn't clarify. I've always done that. Look, there are some matters that there are some matters that I don't think we should bring in partisanship. No, look, we are all at risk. Even me in Northtown, some Galamsey guy can come with his Galamsey money, and that's what is going on. You know, they come and buy the seat, push you out, buy everybody. They are the kingpins. They take over. So we are all at risk.
So what do you suggest we do?
Look, integrity in leadership. Let the commander-in-chief just have integrity, be sincere about this fight, and we will win. What is lacking is just the integrity deficit. There's no sincerity. That's what this is about.
Across governments.
Across the board. Now let me come to my next issues, and I'm going to box them together.
About 2 minutes to go.
Very quickly, just 2 minutes. Look, Boku crisis. We have to find a solution. We forget that too many people are dying in this country, and it's become like, the forgotten area. People are being killed in silence, and we don't even remember them. I'm deeply worried about that. And going into the elections, and it's close to the border, and what is happening in the sub-region, terrorists on the loose. Burkina Faso has been virtually 70% is controlled by the terrorists. It's such a toxic and volatile situation that if we don't address that can become the avenue for destabilizing the entire country. So I'm concerned about that. The next issue, very quickly, as a ranking member on the Finance Committee, I'm deeply appalled.
Foreign Affairs Committee.
Sorry, the Foreign Affairs Committee. I'm deeply appalled at the massacre going on in Gaza. Look, Ghana has always been a stalwart, a nation that is respected in the Committee of Nations when it comes to international matters, when it comes to our demand for peace. That's why we're the first country to deploy peacekeeping operation in the Congo in 1960. We pioneered the non-aligned movement. In the Cold War, we were a force for peace. I want to re-echo what the Pope said, the Pope's Christmas message. Those killings, the massacre must stop. More than 20,000 Palestinians have been killed. Of course, I also condemn the October 7 killings, but you see, they should look out for the perpetrators and deal with them. To say that because some people have come to engage in that terrorist act, all Palestinians is fair game. Children, mothers, innocent civilians, hospitals, schools, kindergartens. I mean, everywhere is being bombed, and I've been there. I've been to the Middle East area on numerous occasions. And these are holy lands which have been reduced to rubble. This must stop, and I think that we must add our voice. We sit on the Security Council, even though our tenure is coming to an end, and we must go back to that iconic role that the likes of Kwame Nkrumah used to play in being a moral voice for peace and global stability.
Thank you very much, Samuel Okudzeto Ablakwa, and thank you also, Nana Akomeah, for joining us this morning as we review the major stories of 2023. Happy New Year in advance to all of you.